Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent." But the same could be said about modern men. We are bearing the unlived lives of generations that never dared to face the dark truth about women. And here's what Jung saw with chilling clarity. You do not see women as they are. You see them as your soul demands them to be. And what you call love is often just projection. This video isn't about hate. It isn't about blame. It's about waking up to the unconscious forces shaping your relationships, your heartbreaks, and your deepest addictions to the feminine. Because until you do, you will continue to be enslaved by women and think it's your choice. Jung believed that within every man lives a hidden figure, the Anima, his inner feminine, the embodiment of emotion, intuition, sensitivity, and soul. But here's the dangerous part. If a man does not become conscious of his anime, she takes over. She becomes projected onto real women, not as they are, but as he needs them to be. You meet a beautiful woman and suddenly she feels like home. You've known her for 5 minutes, but she gets you. You think it's fate. Jung would call it psychic possession. You are not falling in love with her. You're falling into your own unconscious. The anime whispers, "She'll save you. She'll complete you. She's different." But it's not real. It's not her. It's you chasing your lost soul through someone else's body. Thema is not evil, but she is powerful. She holds the keys to your soul, and if you're unaware, she'll drag you through chaos just to get your attention. Every romantic obsession that spirals into madness, every pedestal you place a woman on, every irrational heartbreak, these are her fingerprints. And here's what Jung warned. If you don't consciously engage the anime, she becomes autonomous. She acts independently. She becomes the seductress, the fantasy, the voice that leads you into blind devotion. You become like a moth to a flame, not because of her beauty, but because of your inner fragmentation. Integration begins not with rejection, but with recognition. When you start to dialogue with your anime instead of chasing her reflection in women, your energy changes. You stop looking for salvation in another and begin the descent into your own soul. Only then do you become a man who chooses love, not one who is consumed by it. If you want to control a man, you don't need chains. Just let him fall in love with his own projection. Most men today are spiritually starved. They'd been raised in broken homes by disconnected fathers, distracted mothers, or both. They weren't taught how to embody masculinity. They were taught how to please, how to perform, how to seek approval, especially from women. So, what happens when he meets a seductive woman? He doesn't see danger. He sees redemption. But behind that fantasy is often a deeply manipulative dynamic. She gives him moments of validation, then pulls away. She rewards obedience, then punishes confidence. She becomes his mirror. And when she withdraws, he loses himself. This isn't love. It's a psychic trap. But if he's unconscious, he'll call it passion. Women don't have to scheme to manipulate the unconscious man. He manipulates himself. He volunteers his masculinity for approval, silences his truth for intimacy, and trades authenticity for attention. He doesn't realize that the more he sacrifices to maintain her interest, the less she respects him. Jung saw this dynamic not as evil, but inevitable when a man hasn't individuated. He is so desperate to merge with something greater than himself that he latches onto the first woman who reflects even a flicker of depth. But her presence isn't the problem. It's what she represents. She becomes the doorway to meaning, and that makes her too powerful. Once she knows this, she doesn't even have to try. Her silence will torment him. Her validation will drug him. Her absence will define him. He is not in love. He is in servitude to the unmet parts of himself. Jung didn't romanticize women. He respected their power and warned men who didn't. The unconscious feminine has two faces: the nurturing, inspiring muse and the devouring, chaotic seductress. One gives life, the other feeds on it. Jung believed women, like men, are ruled by their unconscious, specifically by the animus, their inner masculine. But a woman who hasn't integrated her animus becomes toxic in a different way. She becomes hypercritical, domineering, emotionally manipulative, always needing control, yet blaming others when things fall apart. And if you're a man ruled by your anime, you'll feel strangely drawn to this dynamic because it reflects your deepest wound, the need to be loved by the feminine that once rejected you. You'll call her difficult. You'll call it chemistry. But you're really reenacting a childhood trauma, hoping for a different outcome. The modern woman who is disconnected from her true feminine essence is not evil. She's inflamed. She has been taught to worship control, independence, and dominance as replacements for intuition, receptivity, and emotional depth. Her animus isn't a wise guide. It's a tyrant that speaks through criticism and coldness. When this fractured feminine meets a man ruled by his unintegrated anime, the result is explosive. They're drawn to each other like magnets, but it's trauma bonding, not love. He sees her fiery resistance and calls it strength. She sees his softness and calls it safety. But beneath it all is a war of unmet archetypes, two half-souls clinging to each other for balance. The only way out is for each to face themselves. Until she integrates her animus, she will keep destroying the men who try to save her. And until you integrate your anime, you will keep running toward women who devour what you never learned to protect your soul. Jung taught that what we love in others is what we haven't owned in ourselves. That woman you can't stop thinking about, she's probably carrying a piece of your soul you've never dared to claim. Her mystery equals your lack of direction. Her confidence equals your repressed masculinity. Her beauty equals your buried desire for wholeness. You don't love her. You love the part of you she makes you feel connected to. That's why when she leaves, it feels like death. Because you weren't just dating her, you were dating your lost self. Modern dating has become an endless cycle of mutual projection. Everyone wants someone to reflect their fantasy, not challenge their unconscious. And that's why it never lasts. You didn't meet a person. You met a symbol. And symbols don't text back. Projection feels like fate, but it's just fantasy backed by desperation. When you project your anime onto a woman, you inflate her into something sacred. You turn her into a goddess, a healer, a muse. But she's just human. And the moment her reality breaks your fantasy, the illusion collapses. And with it, so do you. Jung warned that projection is always unconscious. You don't choose it. It happens to you. And because it feels so overwhelming, so emotionally intense, you confuse it with spiritual significance. But in truth, it's not connection. It's compensation. You're compensating for the unlived parts of yourself by assigning them to someone else. This is why you fall hard for certain women. They don't possess magic. They reflect your own disowned magic. And because you don't see it in yourself, it feels divine when reflected in them. If you want love, kill the projection. If you want a soul, reclaim your own. Because until you do, every romantic connection will just be a mirror cracking under the weight of your unmet self. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. You keep meeting different women with the same emotional blueprint: cold, chaotic, self-obsessed, one moment affectionate, the next distant. They keep you chasing. They punish you when you set boundaries. They disappear when you show strength, but they cry when you pull away. Jung would call this a repeating complex, a loop created by unresolved psychic wounds often connected to your early experience of the feminine, the absent mother, the shaming teacher, the emotionally unavailable first love. You don't recognize it consciously, but your unconscious does. That's why you don't feel attraction to healthy women. You mistake calm for boredom. You crave the emotional roller coaster because that's what your psyche was trained to call love. Until you confront this, you will keep reenacting the same trauma with a different face. This is not an accident. It's an initiation that failed to complete. You were supposed to encounter these patterns and evolve past them, not keep dating them in different outfits. The feminine you're attracted to is often your unhealed wound wrapped in lipstick. And no matter how many times you swear, she's not like the others. Your soul knows the ending before the first text is sent. Jung taught that the psyche repeats what it does not repair. So your romantic bad luck isn't bad luck at all. It's your unconscious begging you to stop sleepwalking through your desires. You'll keep attracting the same chaos until you gain the courage to ask, why am I drawn to the pain? What part of me still believes this is love? What am I recreating and why? When you stop asking, why does this keep happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to show me about myself? That's when the spell breaks. That's when she stops being your mirror and starts being your teacher. An anime-driven man is emotionally reactive, easily seduced, spiritually empty, always chasing completion in the form of a woman. He doesn't lead, he pleads, he doesn't attract, he adapts, he isn't sovereign, he's suggestible. This kind of man becomes a plaything for feminine chaos. He's addicted to romantic highs and devastated by emotional withdrawal. He calls it deep love. Jung calls it archetypal possession. In modern terms, it's a simp with a psychology degree. No woman will respect a man like this. She may use him, manipulate him, even keep him around, but she will never surrender to him. Because how can she surrender to someone who is ruled by her image? The anime-driven man is not weak. He is unclaimed. He is a man with fire in his chest, but no direction for the flame. And so he lets women shape his worth. He lets approval define his value. He waits for the feminine to crown him whole, never realizing the crown must be forged from within. This man lives in a state of spiritual dependency. He believes that love will save him, that romance will restore him, that intimacy will finally silence the storm. But it never does, because he isn't chasing a woman. He's chasing transcendence. And until he realizes that no woman can carry the weight of his unlived soul, he will remain stuck in cycles of infatuation, collapse, and shame. Jung knew this pattern well. He saw that when a man lacks initiation, he seeks it through the feminine. But she cannot initiate you. She can only reflect whether you've done the work. Until you stop outsourcing your worth to her gaze, you'll never become the man she could truly admire. You'll just be another shadow orbiting her flame, mistaking heat for love. Here's a brutal truth most men can't handle. Women don't desire you. They desire what you awaken in them. It's not about you. It's about what you represent. To an unconscious woman, you are either a projection of her father, a servant to her ego, a threat to her control, or a mirror to her shadow. Most modern women do not want a man. They want an emotional fix, a validation machine, a momentary drug to numb their own disconnection from the feminine soul. And if you show up with real masculinity, grounded, aware, disciplined, they will either be terrified of you or transformed by you, but never indifferent. That's the test. If she is indifferent to you, you are not sovereign enough to touch her unconscious. Female desire is layered, but not random. Jung believed women like men are shaped by their unconscious, and that means their attraction is rarely logical. It's symbolic. They are not drawn to status. They are drawn to meaning. And in a spiritually bankrupt culture, most men don't offer it. They offer performance, compliance, excitement. But a truly integrated man doesn't excite her nervous system. He commands her attention without trying, not through force, but through presence. A woman senses when a man cannot be moved by her games, when he doesn't flinch at her silence, when her beauty does not seduce him into submission. That's when she feels something ancient awaken respect. You don't earn desire through effort. You evoke it by embodying the part of her psyche she's never made peace with, the masculine she fears, but secretly craves. This is not about domination. It's about depth. Because if your presence doesn't challenge her animus, she will never open to you. She'll control you, resent you, outgrow you. But if you confront her unconscious, if you touch the part of her soul that trembles in your presence, that's when desire becomes devotion. To truly integrate the anime, you must stop chasing women and start facing your own soul. You must become dangerous, not violent, not toxic, but psychologically sovereign, a man who knows who he is, cannot be manipulated by beauty. He sees through seduction. He doesn't collapse when withdrawn from. He doesn't beg for validation because he is complete in himself. This kind of man doesn't need the feminine. He chooses it. And women feel that. When a man has integrated his anime, he becomes terrifying to the modern dating world. Why? Because he can walk away. Because he cannot be seduced by surface. Because his love is not for sale. Most women have never met a man like this. A man who does not orbit their chaos. A man who sees them not as saviors, but as symbols of his own inner work. This is the man who is no longer driven by wounds masquerading as love. He doesn't react, he observes. He doesn't cling, he chooses. He doesn't perform. He embodies to women still ruled by the unconscious animus. This man will seem cold, intimidating, even cruel, because he refuses to play the part they've scripted for him. He doesn't play the rescuer. He doesn't become the scapegoat. He holds his center, and by doing so, he disrupts their fantasy. This man becomes dangerous not because he harms, but because he cannot be used. His value is not negotiable. His attention is not free. His soul is not available for rent in exchange for validation. This is what Jung meant by integration. The anime is no longer projected outward. She is reclaimed inward. And when a man becomes whole in this way, his presence speaks louder than his words. He no longer seeks love to feel alive. He brings life into love. And once you reach this level of sovereignty, the entire game changes, because now you're not trying to impress women. You're awakening them. Jung's solution was never to reject women, but to withdraw your projection, to see clearly, to reclaim the qualities you've cast onto them, and to integrate those traits into your own being. You see beauty in her. Find the beauty in your life. You admire her mystery. Explore the mystery within you. You crave her emotional depth. Develop emotional intimacy with your own soul. This is what Jung called individuation, becoming whole. And only when you become whole can you meet a woman as an equal, not a savior, not a seductress, not a mother, not a muse, but as a person. Only then can love be real. The process of reclaiming the anime is not poetic. It's brutal because it demands that you stop outsourcing your longing and start sitting with your own emotional hunger. Instead of needing a woman to sue you, you learn to hold yourself. Instead of needing her attention to feel worthy, you earn your own gaze. This is what separates the unconscious man from the integrated one. The former needs her to feel whole. The latter realizes she was never the answer, only the mirror. Jung taught that the inner feminine must be made conscious, not idolized, not suppressed, not chased in the form of lovers, flings, or fantasies, but brought back into the psyche, fully acknowledged and respected. Only then can a man walk through the world unshaken, not because he has no emotions, but because his emotions no longer own him, And when you become this kind of man, you stop falling for potential. You stop mistaking lust for love. You stop calling your projections her. You become so rooted in your own being that the only women you allow close are those who bring clarity, not confusion. Carl Jung didn't write dating advice. He wasn't trying to help you get the girl. He was trying to help you reclaim your soul. His warning was this: when you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most men think they've been unlucky in love. They weren't unlucky. They were unconscious. They mistook obsession for love. They called chaos chemistry. They chased projections and blamed women for the crash. But here's the truth Jung knew. Women are not your problem. Your unconscious is. Until you face that, you will always be ruled by the feminine, but never truly loved by it. The world doesn't need more men who memorize red flags. It needs more men who know how to face their inner fire without running. Men who stop blaming women for the storms inside them and start doing the one thing no algorithm or dating coach can teach: shadow work. You don't fix your life by fixing women. You fix your life by integrating the very parts of yourself you've spent years projecting onto them. Your chaos, own it. Your longing, explore it. Your heartbreak, let it initiate you. Because Jung's message wasn't avoid women. It was face yourself so deeply that no woman can steal your soul again. This is the dark truth. She was never the answer. She was the reflection. And once you realize that, the spell breaks, the grief begins, the work begins, and the boy inside you dies. Only then can the man emerge, not the man women fantasize about, not the man culture rewards, but the man who walks through the world with clarity, because he no longer seeks wholeness in her eyes. He found it in his own. This is Carl Jung's dark truth about women. They are not here to complete you. They are here to confront you, to reflect what you haven't claimed in yourself. You do not become a man by seducing women. You become a man by integrating the feminine within. Only then do you stop chasing. Only then do you see clearly. Only then can you love without losing yourself. So if you're tired of the chaos, the heartbreak, the confusion, don't look outward. Look inward. Because the woman you're really searching for is buried inside the man you're afraid to become. If you found value in this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Echoes of Wisdom. Your support helps spread timeless philosophy to those who need it most.